up, my ninjas? This is Strident here with another toy review. This time I'm reviewing the Blade 1 movie figure, the Marvel Legends Blade 2 figure, and the Marvel Universe Blade figure. The Blade 1 figure was really cool, came out, I want to say in 98. The Blade 2 came out in early 2000 something, like 2003 or 2004, something like that. And the Marvel Universe is pretty new. I want to say it came out last year. Anyway, as you can see, the Blade 1 figure is a pretty cool figure. Right now, it's really the only representation of Blade 1 that, Toy Biz did. There were other figures in that line. I think there were about 6 figures. There was a Whistler figure, Deacon Frost. There was another Blade that he was all vampired out, and his costume was actually black, but he didn't have sleeves on his, when you take off the coat. I think he didn't even come with a coat. Then there was one with the coat. But, yeah, these figures were cool. They came with a lot of accessories. The sculpt was pretty good. It was almost like having a little Wesley, right in the palm of your hand, which is kind of funny. And weird, but as you can see, those are the remaining accessories that make sense. He came with like a crossbow or something that clipped onto his hand, but I didn't like that one, so that's in the bin of crap. The sculpt overall is pretty nice. I mean, it looks like Wesley Snipes. I mean, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it looks like almost like a essence of Wesley Snipes. His armor is ridiculously well recreated. It's even got the bullet holes in it from the middle of the movie, or first half of the movie or whatever. Buckles, everything's been recreated. He's got tons of storage for all of his weapons except for the clip-on crossbow thing. I don't know, I was really geeked when I got this because it seemed like people didn't know about Blade, so these figures were like taking up so much space at the local KB at the time. You can see the sheath doesn't sit on his actual back, it's part of the belt, which I think is cool. I've had this figure since 98, 98 or 99, something like that, and the belt stood up. They even went back and they did his tattoos too. It's pretty cool. I like the red on the straps. That's pretty awesome too. It's small details, but you can see they're all throughout the straps on the figure. I mean, this is really good detail. It's kind of showing you it's a precursor to what would become Marvel Legends, and it's like they took that stuff and moved it up to the next degree, but like I said before, it looks like Wesley Snipes. It looks just like Blade, if it's not exactly Wesley Snipes, but as I said before, it's an essence. It's pretty accurate in some ways. They could have been a little bit more hardcore about it, but at the time, this was like top of the line as far as, figures go, because this is before Marvel Legends, I dug it. The glasses are removable. I think I glued mine on because I never liked removable stuff like that, but, you can see his haircut's accurate. The glasses are a little big. They kind of sit off of his ears, which kind of sucks, but, that's nitpicking. Overall, you got Blade, and he looks cool without the jacket and with it, which is awesome. The stakes aren't removable. I didn't care about that because, I mean, the holes in his hands and the sculpt of his hands are too big to actually hold those things, So, I was impressed that they just had those details. He's got the old school black, what kind of shoes were those? Gore-Tex boots back in the day. I wish they sculpted them a little bit more like boots and less like shoes, but, whatever. It's nitpicking. Like I said, it's 98. There's his gun with the suppressor built in and everything. I don't know what else to say. It's awesome. It looks just like it did in the movie. It had this little piece that comes out. It looked like either it's something to steady it or it's the clip. And they didn't bother to put a clip, but they put like a weight or whatever that is. I don't know. It just pulls out like a slot mechanism and hangs down like that. I would have rather they fill that in and it was a complete, clip that you could actually pull out. But, whatever. It is a cool feature that something moves on this thing. I never understood exactly what that was, but whatever. Here's the glaive. And the glaive was awesome because, just like in the movie, this thing actually folds out. And like I said before, it fits on the belt of the character. So Blade gets geared up and he's ready for war. But yeah, there it is. pretty much just like it was in the movie. I mean, it's a little big, but at least you could lose it, but I mean, if you're, a collector, you would be able to find this thing, and you probably wouldn't lose it because it's big enough to spot it. That's the Sword of the Daywalker. That particular sword, though, is the one that came with the Blade 2 figure. I like the fact that the handle was painted, even though in the movie it wasn't, so sometimes I put them together. But as you can see, they even detailed the freaking handle of the sword all the way up to the scabbard, or the hilt, sorry. It's a nice sword. Simple design. I mean, they didn't go crazy with it. Overall, I mean, this was a good, Blade figure. This was like probably the best Blade figure that you could buy at the time. The jacket was a little big, but, it still looked like Blade. You can get it to look dead on like Blade, and I don't know, I dug that. I liked that a lot. My only gripe is that I wish that they made the coat out of a softer pleather, because then it would be more malleable, but this is perfect. I like fabric over plastic, and as you can see here, they kind of did what I wanted with this Marvel Legends Blade. And this figure, as far as sitting on your shelf with a stand and everything, as you can see, I had to use a stand because he can't stand up on his own, but just looking at this figure, it's an awesome figure. I mean, if you look closely, you can see a lot of the issues, but overall, it's an awesome looking figure. It's the only Blade 2 that we got in 6-inch scale. As you can see right away, that is Wesley Snipes. They scanned his face and they did it correctly this time. Like, even more so than the first time. His profile, big old lips, the whole nine. Crazy widow's peak haircut. They got this off this time. And I mean, what would you expect? It is Marvel Legends, Like I said, the first one was the precursor, and you got to see, how they throw down with a sculpt that mimics a movie, living person and in a movie. And then now you see them do that and then give you the articulation. Now the articulation on this figure is one of the down points, but we're going to keep on talking about the way it looks for now. The looks are perfect. I mean, that's Blade, especially with the jacket on. They got the hairline. The glasses are smaller, so they kind of fit his face. I once again glued the glasses in because I hate glasses that pop off, because say your figure falls on the shelf, the glasses pop off and they're somewhere and you're trying to look for them, and I don't want to go through moving everything just to find that small detail. But once again, that's the sword that this figure came with. I like to switch it back and forth depending on which one I put to the front. Most of the time it's the old school Blade. But anyway, this is what he looks like without the jacket. They didn't bother to put sleeves on. They didn't bother to finish painting his gloves. It's just kind of Blade from the end of Blade 2. I hate the fact that he can't stand up. This is one of those times where, like I said, the articulation needs to fit the mold of the character, and it needs to work with the design and work with the figure and the sculpt and not work against it. As you can see, that vest is dead on Blade 2. It's perfectly recreated. I mean, every detail is there. I hate these hands. Number one, he doesn't have the Kung Fu grip hands, or the sculpted hands to hold his weapons. He's got those, articulated fingers. The trigger finger moves by itself, and then the other three move on their own as well. They didn't even finish painting his hand. I mean, as you can see, the top portion of his hand is painted black, the bottom portion is brown, and the paint actually ends right at the top of the hinge in the center of his hand. I mean, what kind of ghetto shit is that, And it seems like this is the treatment that they typically give Blade, and I don't understand. I know he's the first Marvel movie, and it was successful, and it's the reason why they turned around and knew they could make all the others. This is the bane of this figure's existence, those poorly done feet. Number one, they got him wearing like regular shoes. They should have sculpted boots kind of like what the Punisher had. That would have been awesome, but as you can see, he stands on the outside of his foot. This is what he came with for a gun. Instead of coming with the Blade 2 version of his submachine gun, he came with the Blade 1 version, just painted with like a metallic wash. He barely holds on to this thing because the handle is bigger than his hand can hold. Like his hand cannot wrap around that handle all the way. I don't know. I think they skimped in this area, and it kind of makes me mad because they easily could have done this. And as you'll see in the rest of this, the Marvel Universe blade has the Blade 2 submachine gun, which is kind of lame. The last accessory he came with was this motorcycle. It's cool he came in a motorcycle. It sucks that the motorcycle seems like it's out of scale, or he's out of scale with the motorcycle. It's just, I don't get it. He just looks funny on it. I mean, from that angle, it looks cool because it's an old camera trick, the whole foreshortening type deal. But at the same time, or forced perspective. But the whole time, when you have him on the bike on display, the bike just looks so small, and the figure looks so much bigger. It's just like, man. I mean, look at him compared to Ghost Rider. And Ghost Rider's bike is not long enough, but still, it's big enough, I don't know what the issue is. The only person that came on a bike that fit perfectly was Wolverine. And there's Fies in the background on Autovigen, and it's just, you can see that everyone else looks to scale with their bike, but Blade kind of looks off. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But the figure is an awkward size because he's not the biggest Marvel Legends figure, and he's not the smallest at all. And I tried to put him on a super bike model, and from that angle, once again, it looks cool. When you see him from sideways, he looks kind of funny, which you'll see in a second. But it's strange to me. I don't know why they didn't put like the Ducati that he was driving in the movie. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. Maybe make the figure smaller, just a little smaller, like the size of the previous figure that I reviewed. I don't know. I don't know what the happy medium would have been. I think it would be making him smaller. That would work the best. But overall, like I said, the figure is visually, it's Blade. There's a lot of slop. Like you can see here, that ring that connects the leg joint to the rest of his his hip. They didn't even bother to paint it. Like, what the hell is that about? Same on the other side. Completely brown, unpainted. I mean, I know he's wearing a trench coat, but there's a Gambit figure with a trench coat, and they painted everything on him. What's the deal? I don't understand. Things like that keep this toy from being perfect. It feels like they came so close, and then they're so far. But I think that if you have customizing skills, you could make this figure great. Just replace his legs and find some better hands for him, and it'd be good. But here's the Marvel Universe Blade, and as you can see, he's a little bit of a culmination of all the looks that he's had in comics over the last 5, maybe 6 years, something like that. Like after Blade Trinity, and they were pissed about it, and they started to try to take away some of the movie stuff and make him more comic, strictly comic book. He's bald, and he actually resembles the Blade in the TV series, which kind of bothers me because that series was so bad. But as you can see with his pistol, or his machine gun, it's the Blade 2 gun, which is weird because the Blade 2 figure did not come with that. And he's twice the size of this one. It's not like they couldn't sculpt it, It makes you wonder, what was the deal? Like, was that a last-minute throw-in type thing? Hurry up, sculpt Blade. But he came with those 2 things and a glaive. He came with the gun, the sword, and a glaive. But the glaive was so small, I left it in my thing of crap, and I don't feel like digging it out, so I'm sorry. The glaive, he can't hold the glaive because it's way skinnier than his fingers. I think you can kind of push it in between his fingers, and that's it. But, yeah, you can see the paint apps on both the gun and the sword are pretty nice. The paint isn't an issue on this figure at all. All his parts are just reused Punisher parts, and that bothers me. I know Hasbro is notorious for it, but I was hoping that we would get like Blade with a cool chest piece and like armor, body armor, and like the stakes strapped to his leg. I don't know, some little things that would be more, what you see in the comics. Because in the comics, they gear him up. Sometimes he has 2 swords. But, I don't know. It's still an okay figure. The articulation is kind of eh. That's probably the weakest point about this figure. I put him in the cool poses that I could get him in, that he'll stay in. The rubber or plastic trench coat kind of restricts his movement as far as posability goes, but it allows for stability when you pose him in certain poses. His boots are pretty well detailed, and there's some cool details, like stress marks and little things, all over the figure. I mean, they even got his weird chin strap slash goatee mustache beard thing. It's kind of a cool figure in that respect. They got a lot of little details on it, but it's kind of they went the cheap way, by not actually sculpting new stuff. But anyway, these are the Blade figures. That is the Marvel Universe one. These are so far the best, the only small scale Blade figures that we have. And since I'm a Blade fan, I had to have them. I got that one from my girlfriend and my son. They knew I'm a Blade fan, and they saw him one day, I think at Target or something, and picked him up for me. So, cool gift. Anyway, that is my review of those 3 figures. Hope you dug it. If you see the first Blade figure ever, which I think he's pretty rare, that's definitely worth picking up. He's another one that I think if you have customization skills, then you could take that buck and make a pretty awesome Marvel Legends Blade figure. So, yeah, if you see him, pick him up. Blade 2, if you're a die-hard fan of Blade, he's worth picking up because it will look nice on your shelf. But as far as posability and stability and all that, you're gonna have to do things to get him to do what you want him to do. So anyway, I will be back soon with my review of the first 4 episodes of the Blade TV series or anime, and soon after that I should have up my review on the SIC Super Imaginative Chokogen Kamen Rider 555 Phys and Autovijin. So stay tuned. Peace, people.